Judge Walter Grayson thought he was sentencing just another reckless teenager until the defendant began tearing apart the prosecution's case with the precision of a seasoned trial lawyer. The air inside the Los Angeles County Courthouse felt heavy, almost suffocating. Every seat in the gallery was filled, spectators whispering among themselves as they waited for the show to unfold. At the defense table, the young man seemed almost swallowed by the furniture, hands tucked into his pockets, chin lifted just enough to show he wasn't intimidated. His name was Jalen Dawson, 19 years old, charged with grand theft auto and resisting arrest, serious crimes. But the way Judge Grayson looked at him made it clear the trial wasn't really about law, it was about power. Grayson leaned back in his chair, drumming his fingers lazily against the polished wood. Peering over the rim of his glasses, he let a smirk tug at his lips. "You think you're some kind of legal expert?" he drawled. "This isn't debate club, kid." Laughter rippled across the courtroom. The bailiff, the stenographer, even the prosecutor joining in. Everyone except Jalen. He didn't flinch, didn't smile, because he had been preparing for this moment his whole life. Not to stand here accused, but to stand here, period. While his peers memorized basketball stats, Jalen studied case law. While his friends lost themselves in video games, he argued mock trials in his head. His mother, Denise Dawson, had worked as a paralegal for 2 decades, and Jalen had grown up absorbing everything she brought home. Stories of lazy defense attorneys, biased judges, and prosecutors who cut corners just to close cases. By 14, he could deconstruct a trial better than most law students. But to Judge Grayson, he was just another black kid in trouble. "Let's make this quick," the judge sighed, flipping open the file. "I've got a golf game at 2. The courtroom chuckled again. But this time, Jalen allowed himself the faintest smirk, because the judge had just made his first mistake, and no one had noticed. Prosecutor Mitchell Carrington rose, radiating confidence. His suit was perfect, his tie precise, his voice smooth from years of repeating the same speech. "Your Honor, the state will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the defendant, Jalen Dawson, was caught in a stolen 2022 Audi A6. Officers pursued him through downtown, where he attempted to flee before being apprehended. His fingerprints were found on the steering wheel. The evidence, Your Honor, speaks for itself." The gallery buzzed, murmurs of guilt, whispers of certainty. To anyone else, it sounded airtight. A stolen car, a chase, fingerprints. Grayson leaned forward, eyeing Jalen. "Go on." Carrington strode toward the jury box, his polished shoes clicking. "The defense may try to paint Dawson as a victim of circumstance, but let's be honest. What kind of victim runs from the police?" He locked eyes with Jalen, his smile sharp. The tension thickened. Carrington flipped through papers. "Your Honor, I have testimony from Officer Daniel Ruiz, who personally witnessed the defendant behind the wheel before the arrest. The car was confirmed stolen. The arrest was made by the book." "Sounds straightforward to me," Grayson said with a nod. And for most people in that room, it probably did. But Jalen had spent too many years studying trials not to see the cracks. He stayed quiet, waiting. Finally, the judge tapped his gavel. "Defense?" Lisa Thornton, Jalen's nervous public defender, stood, only for Jalen to place a hand on her arm. She sat back down. "I'll be representing myself, Your Honor," Jalen said calmly. The courtroom froze. "You'll what?" Grayson asked, half amused. "I'll be defending myself." Gasps spread. Carrington let out a sharp laugh. This should be interesting. But no one was laughing when Jalen stepped forward. Your Honor, he began, his voice steady. Before I proceed, I'd like to confirm something with the prosecution. Carrington arched a brow. Go ahead. You stated Officer Ruiz personally saw me behind the wheel, correct? That's right. It's in his report. Jalen nodded, then turned to the judge. Your Honor, I move to dismiss that testimony. On what grounds? Because Officer Ruiz wasn't even on duty when the chase began. Jalen's words cut through the silence. If the court verifies his GPS logs from that night, we'll see his report doesn't match reality. The gallery erupted in whispers. Carrington stiffened. Counselor, Grayson pressed. Carrington hesitated. Too long, the jury noticed. Everyone noticed. Grayson sighed. Verify the GPS, and just like that, the first domino fell. Carrington scrambled. Even so, the defendant's fingerprints were on the stolen car. Jalen nodded. That's true, but fingerprints alone don't prove theft. He faced the jury. Say you try on a jacket in a store, leave fingerprints, then hours later someone shoplifts it. Does that make you guilty? Jurors shifted. I leaned against that car outside a 7-Eleven, Jalen continued. It was unlocked. I opened the door. Dumb curiosity. But I never drove it, never stole it. He paused, then asked, Does touching something make you a criminal? Silence. And tell me this, Jalen added, turning to Grayson. Was the forensic specialist subpoenaed to testify about those fingerprints? The judge glanced at Carrington. No, the prosecutor admitted reluctantly. So the state wants to convict me based on evidence they won't even let me cross-examine. Jalen shook his head. Interesting. The courtroom shifted uneasily. Then Jalen played his final card. Your Honor, I'd like to submit into evidence the original statement from the car's owner, Mr. Raymond Whitaker. In it, he says, Jalen lifted the transcript, reading aloud. I left my car running when I went inside the gas station. Some kid jumped in and drove off, but it wasn't the guy they arrested. The thief was white. The room gasped. Jalen held the paper high. That report was deliberately omitted by the prosecution. The actual suspect got away. They found me, a black teenager nearby, and decided that was close enough. The silence was electric. Grayson rubbed his temples, realizing the case had unraveled. Prosecution? Carrington's face burned red. No further arguments, Your Honor. Grayson exhaled. Case dismissed. The courtroom exploded, half in disbelief, half in awe. Jalen stood motionless, letting the moment breathe. When he finally turned to leave, Grayson called after him. Mr. Dawson. Jalen stopped. The judge hesitated, then said softly, You should consider law school. A smirk crossed Jalen's lips. He didn't need to consider it. He already knew. Outside, reporters